Welcome everyone to our Lesson 1 Guided Notes Part 2. Last time we talked about the divisibility of 2 and 4, and this time we're looking at the divisibility of 8. Make sure you've got your pencil ready, make sure you have your notes for your future forgetful selves in front of you, and let's get going. First, we have divisibility by 8. A number is divisible by 8 if it can be arranged into 8 equal groups of whole numbers or any number of groups of 8. And that's what we have here in these two. On the left here is 8 equal groups, right? 16 can be made into 8 equal groups of 2, 24, 8 equal groups of 3, 32, 8 equal groups of 4. And then on the right-hand side, we have all groups of 8. So 32 is 4 groups of 8, and 24 is 3 groups of 8, and so on. So we have 8, 16, 24, 32, all the multiples of 8. Always double a multiple of 4 are all divisible by 8. So you can check this here. We have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Those are multiples of 8. And all we need to do is we can see that if we just double them, we get all of the numbers that are divisible by 8. That will help us when we're making our shortcut for making this easier on ourselves. So how do we make it easier on ourselves? Well, all we need to do is focus on the last 3 digits and check if they are divisible by 8. But I know some of you are curious as to why. Why is this the case? Well, here we have 1,000 squares, and we've divided up into 8 equal groups of 125. That means that if we have 1,000, we don't have to worry about it. It's already in groups of 8. If we have 2,000, same thing. If we have 46,000, if we have 187,000, all are in all the groups, because all groups of 1,000 are already in groups of 8. Let's move on to look at some examples. But first, let's look at the rule. The rule is that a number is divisible by 8 if the last 3 digits are divisible by 8. Or if you can divide those 3 digits by 2 and find a multiple of 4. And this is because if you remember back to what we just did a couple of slides ago, right over here, we know that all of the numbers that are divisible by 8 are just double a multiple of 4. So if you were to divide all of these numbers that are divisible by 8, you should find a multiple of 4. If you were to divide this by 2, you find a multiple of 4. If you were to divide this by 2, you find a multiple of 4. All right, let's see how that looks in action. All right, here's our first example. We have 1,916. So first of all, we know we can ignore the thousands, so let's just look at these last 3 digits, 916. We're going to divide it by 2 to see if we can find a multiple of 4. So when we divide it by 2, this one's a tricky one. 900 divided by 2 is 450. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So 450 plus 8, 458. All right, now we're looking for a multiple of 4. So all we need to do, we know that the hundreds are already in groups of 4. So we just look at these last 2 digits. So how do we find out if it's a multiple of 4? We take 58 and we see if we can divide it by 2. So 58 divided by 2, well, 50 divided by 2 is 25, 8 divided by 2 is 4, so we take 25 plus 4 and we get 29. Now we're checking out this last digit to see, is it even or is it odd? And I can see that this is an odd number. That means that what we have here, 58, we wanted to know if this is a multiple of 4. So 58, because we cannot divide it by 2 and find an even number, that means that this whole number here is not divisible by 8. 1,916 is not divisible by 8. Let's have a look at another example here. 25,392. Again, we know that all of the thousands in the world are going to be divisible by 8 already. So we just need to check those last 3 digits. So let's look at 392. And let's divide it by 2 to see if we can find a multiple of 4. So let's see, 300 divided by 2 is 150. 90 divided by 2 is 45. So 150 plus 45 is 195, and another one is 196. All right, we've got 196. And now to check if that's a multiple of 4, we're just going to look at these last two digits, and we're going to divide those by 2 to see if we can find if it's a multiple of 4. So we divide this one by 2, and 90 divided by 2 is 45, and then 6 divided by 2 is 3. 45 plus 3 is 48. Okay. Remember, we were checking to see if this is a multiple of 4, so we check this to see if it's even, and I can see that it is an even number. So we have found that this number is a multiple of 4. So that means if we double this, we get this. That means this is a double a multiple of 4. All numbers that are divisible by 8 are doubles of multiples of 4. So we can say 25,392 is divisible by 8. All right, let's sum up what we've learned so far in lesson 1. We've learned that a number is divisible by 2 if the digit in the ones place is even. So if it ends in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. And this example says here, this last digit, the ones place, is an 8, and 8 is divisible by 2. That means the whole number is divisible by 2. We learned also that a number is divisible by 4 if the last two digits form a number divisible by 4, or if you can divide those digits by 2 and get an even number. So, for instance here, we only look at these last two digits here, and 24 is divisible by 4, so we know that the entire number, 4,524, is also divisible by 4. And finally, we learned a number is divisible by 8 if the last three digits are divisible by 8, or if you can divide those digits by 2, those three digits by 2, and find a multiple of 4. So for example, 1,816, you just look at the 816, and if we find out that 816 is divisible by 8, then we know that the entire number, 1,816, is also divisible by 8. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.